Right now, somewhere in your house, there's a roll of toilet paper. You've never had to think about it. You've never had to plan around it. You just use it. But for over 300,000 years, almost the entire time humans have existed, this object did not exist, not once. So what did every single human being who ever lived before the year 1857 actually do? The answer involves sponges on sticks, shared public tools, frozen tundra, and one invention so embarrassing that people were too ashamed to buy it in stores. Stick around, because by the end of this video you'll never look at that roll the same way again. Let's go back to the very beginning. Early humans didn't have plumbing, they didn't have paper, they had the forest, and that was it. Large broad leaves were the original solution. Soft ones were preferred, obviously, and early humans got very good, very fast, at telling the difference. Moss was another favorite. It grew everywhere near rivers and forests. It was naturally soft, and it was disposable. And when neither was around, smooth river stones, followed by a rinse in the nearest stream. It wasn't elegant, but it worked, and it worked for longer than any other method in human history. We're talking hundreds of thousands of years of leaves and stones. But once humans started building cities, things got a lot weirder. In ancient Rome, public bathrooms had a shared tool built right into the architecture, a sea sponge tied to a stick, sitting in a bowl of vinegar or salt water. It was called a tersorium. Here's the part that gets people every time. It wasn't personal. Everyone in that public bathroom, sometimes dozens of people a day, use the same sponge. Rinse, return, next person. Historians still debate exactly how it was cleaned between uses. Some say vinegar disinfected it, others aren't so sure. Meanwhile, over in ancient Greece, the tool of choice was pottery. Specifically, broken pieces of ceramic called pessoi, smoothed down at the edges and reused again and again. Archaeologists have actually found these pieces with something written on them, the names of people the user disliked, scratched onto the shard before use. So, yes, ancient Greeks were leaving one-star reviews on their bathroom tools 2,500 years before Yelp existed, and it only gets stranger from here, because the next civilization on this list is also the one that eventually solved the problem forever. In ancient China, by the 6th century, people had already started using paper, making them the first civilization on Earth to do so, but it wasn't available to everyone. By the 1300s, factories were producing millions of sheets a year, and almost all of it was reserved for the emperor's court. If you were an ordinary citizen in medieval China, you almost certainly never touched it. Meanwhile, across the world in medieval Europe, people were using hay, wool, or corn husks, whatever the household had. Wool if you were wealthy, straw if you weren't. In colonial America, dried corn cobs became the standard, smooth, sturdy, and always sitting in a basket right next to the outhouse seat. And in the Arctic, Inuit communities used soft snow, or tufts of tundra moss. A solution that sounds brutal, until you realize it was also, in a strange way, one of the cleanest options on this entire list. So somebody, somewhere, had already invented paper for this exact purpose over 1,000 years earlier, which raises an obvious question. Why did it take the rest of the world so long to catch up? The answer is almost more interesting than the invention itself. In 1857, an American named Joseph Gayetty introduced the first packaged toilet paper ever sold in a store. It wasn't marketed as a bathroom product. It was marketed as medicine, sold in flat sheets, branded as a treatment for hemorrhoids, with Gayetty's own name printed on every single sheet. Why? Because he was so confident people would be too embarrassed to admit they needed it. He wanted his name attached as a guarantee it was medically respectable, and he was right to worry. The product barely sold. Most people were too ashamed to be seen buying it. They kept using newspaper, catalog pages, or whatever was lying around for decades afterward. It took until the 1930s, and the invention of splinter-free paper. Yes, splinter-free, meaning the paper before that genuinely gave people splinters, for toilet paper to finally become the bathroom staple we know today. Let that sink in. It's not that the technology didn't exist, it's that humans were too embarrassed to use it for almost 80 years after it was invented. So next time you reach for that roll without even looking at it, remember what you just watched. Leaves, moss, stones, a shared sponge on a stick, pottery shards with insults written on them, snow, corn cobs, and one deeply embarrassed 19th century inventor who put his own name on a product because he didn't think anyone would trust it otherwise. 300,000 years of trial and error for something that now takes you 2 seconds and zero thought. It's a small object, but it might be one of the clearest examples of something bigger. The things we take most for granted are usually the ones that took humanity the longest and the strangest path to figure out. If this made you see something ordinary a little differently, that's kind of the whole point of this channel. Subscribe if you want more of these, and let me know in the comments, which method on this list would you have hated the most?